For today's training, we're going to be going over, I would say it's like a topic of communication. So communication is learning how to communicate effectively is very, very important when it comes to the business. Any business, even a 9 to 5, if you're in the sales space in a 9 to 5 job, or even at school, communication is so important when you're communicating with your peers, when you're communicating with your professors, or anybody in your network at school, with work, and especially business. 100%. And we are in the marketing space: affiliate marketing, digital marketing, social media marketing, network marketing. All of that is part of what we do. And we take advantage of different types of marketing to give us that extra edge and to take advantage of the digital space we're in, because of course we're in a digital era. So building a business isn't the way it was, let's say 10 years ago, 20 years ago. We have it a lot easier, actually. And that's why we see so many people getting involved in these spaces, whereas before it was like maybe 40, 50 plus, 60 plus year olds that would see massive success. Now we have people as young as 18 years old making, a lot of money online. So we're definitely in the right space, and it's only the beginning. It's still so new, and there's so much possibility. It's just gonna get getting bigger and bigger. But yeah, before we get into today's topic, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Rosanna, and I'm one of the top coaches here with Champions. And something I'm very prideful with Champions is we have a strong, strong value on being number one and being the best of the best, which is why we're called Champions. This is why we call our team Champions, because we have that mindset, that mentality of like, no matter what, we are going to thrive, we are going to overcome anything, and we're going to do whatever we can to make sure we're always on top. And each and every one of you shows those qualities. And so I'm very happy to see you all here. And clearly you're committing to those qualities if you're here on a Saturday. Let's drop champions in the chat. Let's spam champions in the chat right now. Show that energy. I love it. And hey, if some of you can, record that, put it on your stories, definitely encourage you to. But I want to see champions loudly and proudly in this chat. I love it. We have an amazing culture here. But yes, I've been doing this for 2.5 years, and I was able to build a full-time income in literally 6 months. I came from a space where when I started this business, I was in a weird place in my life where I was making good money at my job, but I didn't have freedom. I had lack of fulfillment. I felt like my life had no purpose. If any of you can relate, I'm sure you feel those feelings where you feel like there's no purpose. You don't know what direction your life is going into. You see all these other people, looking like they live happy lives, traveling, making all this money, and you're in a position where maybe it's like, okay, well, I want to do exactly the same. And that's where I was when I started this business. I was making a lot of money, but I was trading my time for that money, and trading my mental health too, because the 9 to 5 job was not an easy space where I was in. It was like an office job type of thing in management. However, in customer service, I was in management and customer service, I dealt with a lot of problems, a lot of customers that would come to the bank. I worked in the bank space, by the way, that would come in upset. Of course, people get sensitive and emotional when it comes to money, threatening us. I remember one of my co-managers that I was working with, she was pregnant at the time, and a customer was upset that she wouldn't let his check go through, that he had to wait his 5-day waiting period, and he was threatening to kick her stomach and kill her baby. Yes, that's the type of stuff we dealt with at the bank, especially the area that I was in. So seeing a lot of things like that, and people having to go through those things every single day. And I'm sure many of you that work jobs, you go through stressful situations, hard situations. And you're doing it because you have to put food on the table. You have to provide for yourself. And that's why I'm so happy that we're all here together. Whether you're working a job, whether you've been able to quit your job because of this, you're all in the right direction. And like I said, communication is a very important part of growing your skill sets and your business. And I really want to get into that. But yeah, a lot of crazy things. And so finding this platform literally was a solution for me, and I just went all in, and I was able to build an online income. I was able to leave the 9 to 5. I was able to connect and network with like-minded people, which I didn't have before. Everyone around my circle none of them till this day are doing what I'm doing. There are a lot of people from when I started this business are still at my job. Old coworkers are still working there. They're yeah. So I mean, it's definitely great to be around a community of like-minded individuals where we can all grow together and contribute to each other's success. But let's get right into things. First, though, on the topic of communication, before we get into anything, I want to show you guys a video. I want to show you guys a video first, and it's a music video. But it's a very touching. Who knows Ed Sheeran? There's a reason why I'm gonna show this video. I'm not just like having a jam session with you guys on Level Up. Uh, who knows who Ed Sheeran is? Am I pronouncing his name right? Yeah, the best ginger out there. Okay, all right. I know who to get you concert tickets for now. All right, okay. I want to play this video because a lot of people, if you really focus on the video, I won't play the whole thing because the whole thing's like 5 minutes and 33 seconds, but I will play up until a certain part. And so anyone that's coming in late, well, I guess they have a 3-minute grace period here while we watch this. But I really want you all, if you're driving, like really focus on the feeling of the song. And those of you watching, like really focus on the video and focus on what it makes you feel. And there's a reason why I'm doing this, which I'll tell you after. Okay, but let's get this going here. Hold on a sec, guys. Technical difficulties here. Wait, why isn't this working? Okay, well, I need it to be full screen. Hold on. Okay, perfect. Okay, so pay attention to this. It's one of my favorite songs, but I really want you to focus on what it makes you feel. Or if you feel anything, or maybe you don't feel anything at all. Perfect. We'll share afterwards. All right, I don't mean to cut it short, but what do you guys feel? Drop it in the chat. Of course, we have Ed Sheeran, and then we have the legend, Andrea Bocelli, which is my absolute favorite. And you don't even have to understand what he's saying, but if you paid attention, yeah, exactly, what a combo. The expressions of people, let's say, watching Ed, or even let's say Andrea Bocelli when he was singing his part, you see his wife, the way he looks at him, the way Ed Sheeran's looking at him, the emotion he's creating. And a lot of us, when we experience this live in person, and those of you especially that have been to live events, you know the impact of people on stage, their words, their emotion, their tonality, the energy in the room, what it can create for you. Yeah, let me see some of these comments here. Oh, Michelle singing the song earlier, eh? Manifested it. Yeah, it's a beautiful song, creates a lot of emotion. Now, I've seen people literally get emotional when you hear the complete song. Obviously, when you're in your own space and you hear the song and you feel the words, you might not understand what Bocelli is saying, but you feel through his lyrics the emotion it's creating. And that's a way of communication. And so I've seen people get so emotional to the point where they start tearing up with things like this. And when you've created an emotion to someone, whether it's them tearing up, whether it's them really feeling, whether it's them feeling at peace, whether it's them feeling a connection, butterflies in their stomach, or just anything that comes goosebumps, you've done an effective job in creating that. And that's exactly what we're all here to do. Because just how in a simple song, two artists were able to create emotion through their music. Imagine you creating these emotions to the people watching you every single day on social media, in person, when you're a testimonial to an event. This is very important. And this is what effective business people do. They exude that emotion on stage, in person, to whoever they talk to. And a lot of times people do that through sharing their story. A lot of people can share. Music is like storytelling, by the way. If you listen to a lot of songs from certain music artists, it's telling a story. And a lot of musicians, especially that write their own music, they're basically sharing stories from different periods of their lives. And that's exactly what we have to learn to do. How to tell stories through our communication. Now, let me get into the presentation, but before I do, I just really want you guys I wanted to share this with you because I wanted you to feel that feeling. Because whatever you felt, if you felt something, your mission needs to be to make people feel that exact same way. Now, of course, it doesn't always have to be sad or, like sighing and all that. Emotion can be happiness, it can be excitement. There's a lot of things. But we'll get into the communication method of storytelling and how to do it effectively. Yeah, I really want you guys to remember that. Remember, does your story or the way you communicate your story create emotion? Because remember, it's not what we say, it's how we make people feel. And that's very, very, very important. Awesome. Okay, so let me get this going. So when it comes to effective communication in business, there are a lot of different topics we can cover. There's so much. Communication is an umbrella in itself, and there's so many categories underneath communication, rapport building, how to tell your story, nonverbal, verbal, written. Like there's so much we can cover. But of course, we are on a specific time today, and I could be here for hours sharing everything, but we're going to focus on storytelling. Now, the reason why communication is a two-person activity. So it's not just someone communicating, talking and talking and talking. To be an effective communicator is also to be a great listener. And that's why we need to make sure that we're communicating effectively, because then people can listen and absorb our message and really take it in. Now, just a side note, for those of you that have people communicating with you, that's why it's important to be a good listener. So whenever you talk to someone that's interested in the business, you don't want to just listen to respond or to react. You want to listen to understand. You want to make people feel that you truly understand what they're saying, that you can resonate, that you can relate. And complimenting or just saying certain things that will make them know, okay, this person, like he or she is listening to me. Nico is listening to me. Michelle is listening to me. They care about what I'm saying. And this applies to anything, by the way. Those of you in relationships, you can thank me later. Definitely, it's important to listen, not just to react, but to understand. So why is communication important, by the way? We kind of went over this, but effective communication is the exchange of information between two or more people. So between two parties, those of you that communicate in DMs with people interested in the business, those of you that go on Zoom calls, could be 2 ways, 3 ways. It's an exchange of information. And of course, the idea is to have a mutual understanding of what's being communicated, active listening, clear expression of thoughts and ideas. All of that is important. Now, of course, as a beginner, you don't need to know everything and about the business, how it works. That's why you have your mentors. You leverage your mentors because your mentors have that experience. So you don't have to worry about knowing everything. And you definitely don't have to know everything in order to be successful. Because myself, as an example, when I started the business, a month, 2 months, 3 months in, I wasn't 100% confident with the products, saying them in and out, describing them in and out, but I leveraged tools like videos that went over the opportunity, or I leveraged my mentors. And so that's very, very key. But it's very important, especially in the business we're in, because we're interacting and communicating with people every single day, whether it's in person, online, through Zoom, through a phone call, through video call. We're always interacting with people. And this even applies to the team. Being effective communicators with your team members, with your mentors, is very important. Now, there's 3 types of communication. Okay, verbal, nonverbal, and written. So when it comes to verbal, nonverbal, and written, so verbal, and as an example, social media, in-person, audio, video, this is a lot of stuff that, we do every single day. Nonverbal, facial expressions, body language, posture, listening. Posture is very key, by the way, because it's a form of communicating, because you could be saying all the best things to somebody. Like if someone, let's say, were to, let me pick a name. So let's say Jade was messaging Brady, and Jade goes to Brady and it's like, hey, I see you're doing investing and trading. I'm totally interested. Let's say this is an in-person interaction, by the way. I'm totally interested. I've been wanting to learn about this. And then Brady is like saying all this like information and it's on point, but then his posture is very like closed. Let's say he's standing, kind of like closed off, his posture, his back is a bit hunched and like his chest isn't out. He could be saying all the perfect things, but what is his posture communicating? That he's not confident. And so what's Jade gonna think? Oh, like he must not know what he's saying, or he must not believe what he's even saying. So I'm gonna go on and talk to Victoria instead. So that's what makes a difference. And of course, written, blogs, emails, DMs, texts, all of this stuff, like those a lot of you on your IG stories, do text stories. So like you have text on screen, you're trying to deliver a message, which, by the way, these 3 are very, very, very important. You must be doing all 3, 100%. And what I mean by this is on your stories, especially, I will tell you this right now. I mean, we're not doing a social media training or anything, but on your stories on IG, you want to make sure you're mixing things. If you have 10 slides and all 10 you're just talking, it's cool for people that like to see these videos, but what about the people that like to read? They're going to be like, oh, I don't want to sit through all this talking, which is why we say captions are very important. Or if you're not doing captions, having keywords in your stories to kind of give the person an idea of what you're talking about. Of course, the nonverbal is how you show up on your social media, your posture that you have in your content, on your stories, when you go on live, everything. People are looking at this and you may not realize it, but these little things will really make a difference when it comes to people believing in what you're saying and wanting to work with you. Because you could have the nicest content, the most professional content, but if your body language, your facial expressions, your posture, your verbal and written communication is not being communicated effectively, you might have the most aesthetic feed and it won't do anything for you. You might have the most followers and it won't do anything for you, because people will just like to look at you and look at your content, but they're not actually inclined to do business with you. And then, of course, by the way, let me ask, who here believes they're good communicators? Drop a 1. Drop a 1 if you think you're a good communicator. If you have all 3 down, drop a 1. Okay, so a lot of people are saying they're good verbal, nonverbal, and written. Okay. Okay, I like that honesty. Mema. Who believes they're not the best communicators, but they'd like to improve? Drop a two. Awesome. Now, out of curiosity, what makes you believe you're not good communicators? Is it because of what people have said? Spouses, partners, siblings? Oh no, English. So if English is your second language, I'm not talking about English. Like let's say even in your language, like how you communicate with friends, family, people. Yeah, nobody is perfect, by the way. There's always room for improvement. Now, to say that you're a good one doesn't mean you're perfect. Okay, there's always room for improvement. Oh yeah, the duplication. So what we're gonna get into is how to share your story. Now, there's so many things when it comes to sharing your story. Now, how you can share your story, you can tie in all three forms of communication, by the way. How to tie in the verbal, nonverbal, and written is very key when it comes to sharing your story, whether it's in person or online. And the reason why is because, so imagine, let's say you're sharing your story in person. You have your, I mean, in person, the written part really won't matter. It's more the verbal, nonverbal. For online, you can actually share your story using all three too. So let's say if you're sharing your story, obviously it's you talking. Verbal, nonverbal is your facial expressions, your body language. By the way, a little tip, um, for those of you especially that speak, something I noticed, and this may apply to you, may not, but it's something for you to keep in mind because you could even incorporate it into your stories. Um, one of my old mentors taught me that to share things effectively on stage, as an example, there's a reason why people do certain things. So when you're excited, when you're trying to drive something home, when you're trying to prove a point, you could be walking around on stage. Let's say on your stories. Let's think of Instagram. So like let's say you're on your stories, you're talking about a promo happening soon. You know, you could be walking around your house, you could be walking outside, you have your phone in front of you, you're all excited, or you could just be sharing something that you experienced in the day. It's not like a formal setting, but then when you share your story, you want to make sure you're in not moving around, that you're in a personal space where you're like maybe sitting down on your chair or sitting down even on your couch and just having that like comfortable feeling, having that more like a personable experience with your audience. That's why a lot of speakers, if you notice this, and I challenge you to observe this next time when you watch speakers on stage, they walk around, but if there's a chair on stage, they'll sit on the chair when they're trying to create emotion in terms of sharing something like their story or sharing an emotional period in their time. Same thing, if there's no chair, they'll just stay in the same spot standing. There's no movement because they're trying to create emotion in terms of like maybe a bad moment, a bad experience. They're trying to kind of not close themselves off, but just like kind of create that energy more around them versus spreading it. So then it exudes that feeling that they're trying to communicate. So that's why, like, if you're sharing your story on social media, don't be like running around, don't be driving and sharing your story, because then people won't really feel what you're trying to say. If you're just in one spot, whether it's on your chair, on your bed, on your couch, wherever, sitting on your floor against the wall, and you're communicating your story, that's what's going to create that emotion, because the person watching you is focused. They're focused on you, and the delivery of your words will be more effective too. So how to break down your story. And look, a lot of you, and I used to be guilty of this, when you share your story, which can be like an elevator pitch. Who here knows what an elevator pitch is? What's an elevator pitch? Drop it in the chat. Short presentation of something. Okay. You're on the right track. Business off within a minute. A minute or less. Under one, yeah. Exactly. Imagine you're on the elevator with somebody and they're like, hey, whose name can I pick on here? Who do we have here? Okay. So let's say I'm on the elevator and I'm like, hey, hey Hannah, what do you do? What do you do for a living? Like what's your job? And then Hannah is like saying things, she's telling me her life story, and then it's my floor, and then it's our floor, and then she's followed me out the elevator, and I'm walking to my car and she's following me to a car and she's still talking. I'm gonna be like, hey, I don't care anymore. And that was just like, elevator talk now, please, I'm trying to get to my car. Yeah, stalker, exactly. So you got to think of it like that, because a lot of us get so into our stories. Those of you that have been testimonials before, not Hannah, I'm not saying you would do that. But those of you that have been testimonials before and sharing your story, sometimes these stories are turning into full out presentations. who can relate? That used to be me. So the idea, like an elevator pitch, is something you share with someone, let's say in the elevator, for like, you have to be good at saying it in like 20 seconds. If someone asks you, what do you do? You should be able to say it in 20 seconds. Not even a minute, because sometimes the floors go quick. We're not going to get into that, but sharing your story effectively is very similar. You want to be able to share it in a shorter period of time. So this is really the breakdown of how to share your story in 2 minutes. Now you can definitely share it in less, but 2 minutes is, I would say, a good time, especially if you're doing it on your social media, because no one wants to watch a story that's 10 minutes long. You're going to lose people. And especially with the emotion you're trying to create, you're going to lose them. So how do you share your story effectively then? It's really a 4-step formula, 4-step process of how to share your story effectively with people. So the first one, of course, your background. Quick little background of what you've done in the past. I'll break it down a bit more. And then the second part is what you didn't like about it. So the thing is, also with our story, we need to pick one part of our life that's the most relevant, because it could be a lot of things that happen to us. We're not going to share every single thing. We're not going to list everything either. We're not going to be like, yeah, well, I did this and this happened to me and this and this and this and this and this, because that would take forever. So you want to pick something, give a brief background. You don't want to say, yeah, I was like a dancer, and I was also an artist, and I was going to piano classes, and I was a student, but I was also working a 9 to 5, and I was doing, no, keep it short. Keep it to the most relevant thing. Keep it to which audience you want to relate to. It's not here, but one thing you want to focus on is, what's the audience that you're wanting to relate to? Who is it that you're trying to attract? Who is it that you're trying to connect with? If you're trying to connect with students, well, then absolutely highlight the fact that you're a student, or you were a student when you came across the platform. If you're a parent, you have kids, then you want to highlight that part. If it's you want to relate to other parents, then that's what you need to do. If you are I don't know, we have people of all backgrounds. If you're like a personal trainer, that's into the entrepreneurship space, and you wanted to learn about investing and trading, you want to highlight the aspect that you're a personal trainer, not that you're a chef and that you're also a waiter and all these other things. That doesn't matter. And then what you didn't like about it. So you want to take people on a journey, and it's like storytelling, but storytelling in a more condensed way, because you want to create those emotions. And that's why we're saying you want to be specific, because when you start listing too many things, you're going to lose the emotion in your story. And this is basically your story in 2 minutes. So you don't have a lot of time. Just how a music video or a song in under 5 minutes can make you feel emotions. Imagine if that song was 10 minutes. Like at the beginning, you would probably feel like, oh, this is like, I feel so sad, or I feel so connected, or I feel this, or I feel that. And then 5 minutes is done, and it's like, okay, I'm hungry now. You completely forgot about all the emotions that you were feeling. And then that song lost its opportunity to create an impact. But then again, that's why storytelling, all the visuals is very important, the verbal, nonverbal, and the written part. Because even when you're on your story, let's say on social media, if you're talking, if I'm sitting here and I'm talking, let's say this is all you're seeing, you're just seeing me talking, and I'm sharing my story and it's like 2 minutes, but there's no text, there's no keywords, there's no captions, you're going to just be staring at me and be like, okay, yeah, okay. Like you might understand what I'm saying, but there's nothing helping to deliver the message. And that's why it's important to have captions or just keywords that highlight what you're saying. Because at the end of the day, not everyone has their volume up when they're watching your stories. But if you have keywords in your story on IG, let's say on IG stories, then people can see like, oh, wait, she's talking or he's talking about this. Let me turn up my volume. Let me see what they're saying. And that's why it's important. But even in person. And then, of course, the third part is the solution you found, which would be the platform, or like the solution you found, the person you came across on TikTok, on Instagram. Maybe it was a relative, a friend, a partner that introduced you to this. You want to share that aspect of it. And, now where you are now and where you see yourself in the future, or how you feel about your future. Like these are just guidelines. It's a 4-step process of how to share your story in 2 minutes. I will share this in the marketing channel, by the way, Champions Media and Marketing. So you can all have it there. If you're not in that channel, I will drop it or forward it in the Champions chat, and you guys will have it there. Now, your assignment, by the way, I want you guys to do an assignment. I want you using this method, this 4-step process, system, formula, whatever you want to call it. Write down your story. There are more advanced ways to write your story, of course, which is called the Valley method. But we won't get into that. Maybe another training, we'll get into the more advanced storytelling. But this is very basic. Anyone can do this. Absolutely anyone. Yeah. And this is very key. So even if you started literally this morning, you could do this. You could absolutely do this. The Valley. It's something actually that we learned on GoPro 2 years ago. Yeah, exactly like that. It was something we learned on GoPro, and I really liked it. And the funny thing is, once I started hearing people share their stories, I actually noticed them using this method. And I also noticed influencers I followed use the method. I was like, wow. We won't get into that. It's a bit more advanced. However, I do want all of you to master this one. After this call later today, and if you really want to like take it a step further and show that you're serious, I challenge you, and your assignment would be to write your 4 points, your story, and send it to your mentor. And like that, you could have your mentor give you some feedback. And I would really like all of you to share your story on your social media. No, like have it written down. You don't have like write it down in points, share it with your mentor. That's your assignment. But But of course, the end goal is to have it on your social media, on your IG, on your Instagram, on your stories. Even if you posted a story, let's say a month ago or 2 weeks ago, I want you to look at your story that you posted on your social and see if it follows this 4-step system. Like really dissect it and see if it follows it. And if it doesn't, or if it's longer than 2 minutes, then redo it. Now, you could also do your story in a written format. There's some people that do carousel posts, and that's totally cool. If you can have both, that's even better. One on your highlights, one as a carousel, because people, again, are more visual, so they like to read. Others like to have that experience of hearing you speak in person. Now, before we wrap things up, who here believes that they're confident in doing this 4-step system for sharing their story? Drop a 1. Okay, I like these numbers. So if I were to ask you to do it on the spot for everybody. See, now you can't delete those ones. I'm sorry, you already you already put it. You sent it through. This isn't Telegram where you can delete your message. All right, awesome. Okay. So let's I want to do some interactive now. I want to do not role playing, but I feel like, these trainings are also fun when we hear other people, share how they do it, and like that we can all learn. It's an awesome opportunity. So I guess raise your hand if you want to, the hand emoji. I recently learned how to use these emojis on Zoom. Raise your hand if you want to. I'll pick 3 people. So 2 minutes, you have 2 minutes, and we have 10 minutes left of the call. So that'll be more than enough. 3 people who wants to go and share their stories in front of everybody. So remember, the 4-step system, your background, what you didn't like about it. So let's say you were working at a job, what you didn't like about that, the solution you found, and where you see yourself, or what you've accomplished something, and then what you see your vision moving forward. Very simple. Which, by the way, if you caught at the beginning, when I shared a bit about me, I gave an example. Maybe you don't remember, maybe you do. But I spoke about where I was and what I didn't like about it when I started the platform. So, okay. 2 more people. Let me see. Who else do we have here? I'm going to try to scroll. A lot of you dropped those 1s, but I don't see those hands. I'll just pick then from, let me go back to the 1s. Okay, I'm going to put a timer, by the way, on my phone. Okay, so literally 2 minutes. Where's my clock? Okay, so I'm going to set it for 2 minutes. And ladies, okay, ladies, nice. We're going to do that. So let me exit this. First, we'll go with Umayma because she was very excited to raise her hand. Let me.
Okay, wait. Before I start, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
So your time starts now.
Okay, so my name is Umayma. I am 20 years old and I'm from the Netherlands. I'm a full-time double degree student and I have to travel around 5 hours per day to get to school and back home. So obviously because of that, I wasn't able to work much besides school. So just like 6 hours per week, that's it. And because of that, obviously I couldn't make much money and I was still 19 years old, still had to pay my insurance and all that stuff. So I was looking for something else. And one day I was just scrolling on TikTok and I came across a girl talking about online income. And that's actually how I got started. And now, 1.5 years later, I can most definitely tell you that this has been the best choice that I've ever made in my entire life. Now I make more than a full-time income just from my phone, and I am really excited about the future. And I know much more is to come. I think that's my pitch. Do I still have to talk or?
Oh, no, no. 55 seconds. That's awesome. I realized I was muted. So let's drop some energy in the chat for Umaima. That was really, I like that. And you did it in less than 2 minutes. Now it was good. It was good. And definitely props to you for doing it on the spot. Now, what I want to challenge you to do is like, of course it's on the spot, and you did great. But I want to challenge you to maybe how can you deliver it in a way? Because remember, it's not what you say, but how you make people feel. So something in there, a little spice that you can add that will create an emotion to someone. So it doesn't always have to be a sob story, by the way, everyone. It doesn't always have to be a sob story, but even making someone feel happy with emotion, like happy, so happy for you for what this has done for you that they like, wow, like this is amazing. Or maybe you're sharing a hard point in your life from where you were when you started this. That will make someone feel like, oh, what, like sad and inspired, more inspired, not sad, but like inspired by your story. But yeah, Mema, that was awesome. Definitely champ energy, showing up for Europe 100%. The Netherlands. But yeah, that's amazing. So yeah, just that little note, but everything was good. Like the order was good. So awesome. Now we have Miss Michelle. Hold on a sec. Can you unmute yourself or no? Okay, hold on. Let me go to you. Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay,
So
wait,
this
wait,
is
wait.
like elevator pitch, right?
Your story and with the
Yeah.
formula I shared, in 2
Yeah.
minutes or less. So your time starts now.
Hey, my name is Michelle. I'm actually from Philippines, but I'm here in Toronto. I live in Toronto, Canada right now. And I work in telecommunications. I'm in my 30s. However, um, not fast forward, sorry. I don't know what's going on. It's Saturday, but anyways, what I was wanted to say is that I am someone who came from an immigrant family, and I studied a program that I didn't even use as a career, and I was lost. Like I didn't know what to do in my life. So that's why I found a platform that I can finally use to as an excuse. I thought it was an excuse for me to, have something to have a more purpose in life. And that's why I found online business and entrepreneurship. And this is what I'm doing now for about almost 2 years now. And I'm happier than I ever was. And I'm excited to share it to other people too as well, because I'm here for the people who didn't know where their life is going, and for maybe someone who, don't know what to do in their life. So I'm here as a guide, as a friend, or maybe a mentor, but that's me.
Awesome. That was 1 minute and 14 seconds. Good.
I
Awesome.
panicked because I don't know who I talk to, like a person or a group of people. I'm like, go.
So this is the thing. You did great. And a little note for all of you, whether even if you're talking to one person, like let's say this is in person, obviously you're not going to be like yelling at the person you're talking to, but let's say on your social media, sometimes it can feel a little awkward, you just your phone and you just talking in your room, but you gotta show up like you're talking to a room of 1,000 people. So when you share your story on social media, I want you to envision yourself speaking on stage in front of thousands of people. How are you presenting the words in your story? Because now that all of you have the 4-step formula, which is very important, remember, it's still not what you say, but how you make people feel. So you have the 4-step formula to make things easier for you and how to structure your story. But when you say, as an example, and this is for all of you, and Michelle, you did great. Like I'm, by the way, huge shout out for Michelle, because those of you in the Toronto team here in Toronto, you know, she's always one to like put herself out there, and she doesn't hold back. So that's something I absolutely love about her, and I know we could all agree. So definitely that energy for the North America side. um, so love that. But for all of you, a little note: when you're on your social media sharing your story, or even if you're on stage in front of people, it's like you have to show that emotion with your words, your tonality. So instead of being like, and this is the thing, when we share, I'm super excited, like you want to share that emotion in your words, like, yeah, this makes me so happy, like I'm so excited. Like, why do you think a lot of times you go on stage and you see like certain speakers and you're like, there's a lot of theatrics in how they say things, and then they could be super excited and energetic when it comes to like their success and the people they've impacted, and then they share a sad moment in their life or a challenging moment, and then their tone goes down, their voice goes softer, and it's like they're making you feel those emotions with their voice and the words they're saying. And so that's how to practice for when you're on your stories as well, on your social media, not just presenting it like you're having a casual conversation, but create that impact with people. But awesome job, Michelle. Thank you so much. Now, Jade, let me ask to unmute, and okay.
Can you
Hello,
hear me?
hello. Yes. Now your time, you're on a timer too. Start now.
Hello, hello. My name is Jade. And for those of you that don't know, I am your favorite entrepreneur, or will be. But I wasn't always. I have been working a 9 to 5 since I was 14. I'm now 23. So that's almost a decade of working on someone else's dreams, working to build someone else's empire and neglecting my own. It wasn't until I came across someone on TikTok who had the ability to continue working on their own dreams and pursue the freedom and have the lifestyle that they needed and wanted and craved. And seeing that they were able to do that all from their phone and have that freedom, that location freedom, was amazing. And I just said, well, why not me? It could be me. There's nothing that's different between me and this person. We all have the same amount of hours in the day. So I decided to take a chance and invest in myself and started to pursue entrepreneurship. And it has definitely been a journey, quite the journey. Recently, I actually quit my 9 to 5, and I have about 2 to 3 months worth of savings to keep me going. But what I plan to do is just pursue entrepreneurship and do this full time and really just help people change their lives and start to develop that passive income and have that freedom and time location that they need to really just start building their own dreams and developing their own empire.
I love that. 1 minute and 30 seconds. So all three of you were under 2 minutes. That's awesome. And considering you were doing it on the spot, and I want to give all of you props because you weren't really rambling on. You were going through the points. So, you know, very proud of all three of you. And Jade, I love that. You know, you shared important parts of your journey and your vision. You shared your vision, which is very important. And, you know, I can't wait to see that on social media. And, you know, just again, for all of you, practice, 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 write it down. If you have to write it, all of you did it on the spot. And some of you have done this before, but now it's time to fine tune things. And it's like you're tuning a guitar. Those of you that know guitar, I mean, I don't know how to play. I'm just going based on what I've seen. I'm not gonna act like I know how to play guitar, but it's what I'm familiar with. So, you know, like when you're fine tuning a guitar, you gotta like, you know, fix those little things. I don't know guitar terminology, but yeah. So you got to think of it like that. So practice, write it down, use that 4-step formula, which I'm gonna drop in the chat, and really practice. Practice in your room, practice saying it. So then when you go on your stories on social media, or even if you're sharing it as a testimonial for an online event or in person, you have that confidence and you could really drive that energy to your audience and to the people watching you and hearing you. But awesome. We're 3 minutes over. Who would like to see one of the boys do it though? Drop some ones. We got all girls and all the boys are shy today. What's up with all the boys? Panos, I saw you drop a one earlier, but you're not you're super quiet. What's up with all the other boys too? Women run the world. I agree, Christian. Plain and simple. Oh, eating. You're eating now. How convenient. It's like in class when the teacher would ask like who wants to go on stage, and then all of a sudden you have to go to the washroom. All right, well, I have someone here that's wanting to go up. Let me find him here. All right, you ready?
All right.
Let's give it up for Kevin, because he demanded, he's like, unmute me. So I'm like, okay. Let's go.
Yeah,
He's
that's
getting
right.
ready.
That's right. I said unmute me. Okay.
All right. So your time starts now.
Okay, guys. Sorry. So my name's Kevin. I'm out of Canada, Toronto. I, to be honest, I'm moving right now, so I'm not too sure what the project is, but I'm pretty sure I gotta tell a bit of my story, so I'm gonna tell that. I've been in and out of network marketing for 10 years. And usually in that span of time, some people are like, 10 years, why haven't you stopped? Blah, blah, blah. The difference is I want financial freedom. Okay. I'm hungry, I'm dedicated, I'm committed. I want to free like my family, I want to free like myself, my lady, all that kind of stuff. And I'm driven, you know what I'm saying? So you got to come with that energy all the time. Umaima was laughing so hard, and I'm trying not to laugh. I can see her. Um, the next is Daniel. Yeah, for sure. If there's one thing I could pass on to everybody, if this is your first time doing network marketing, your very first time doing network marketing, I'm telling you this, okay? You're gonna have good days, you're gonna have bad days, you're gonna have excellent days, you're gonna have shitty days. But I'm telling you guys right now, it will pay off. For me, doing this stuff over and over again in 10 years is because I haven't found the one that works for me. But this is the one that works for me. I got the mentors, I got the community, I got friends all over the world that I can learn from. This is just now home. Once you found home, you'll know it. All right. So this remember to stay consistent, remember to stay committed, have your vision, because your vision and your why are two different things. But once you figure those two things out, I promise you the sky is not the limit. So yeah, that is me. Look out for me in the, on the rank ups and stuff. And let's get this. Let's get it.
Love it. So 1 minute and 33. Okay, awesome. So yeah, I mean, the goal was to share your story in under 2 minutes. Now, Kevin did highlight important points, his overall time in the profession and network marketing. And then what I really liked is he mentioned about, this being home, like finding home. And that's what a lot of people do, like when they come across all these different business ventures or opportunities or business models or even different companies, like they want one that ties in with their vision and what they want to do. And that was really good. And for the fact that, he's moving and he still put himself on the spot, let's drop some, what number can we drop in the chat? Let's drop some threes in the chat. 7. No, let's drop some sevens. Let's drop some sevens in the chat. Love it. Thanks. Awesome, Kevin. Okay. All right. So as much as I'd love to put more boys on the spotlight, we got to wrap it up. But of course, your assignment is to write down your story using that 4-step formula and have it posted on your social media. But I really want you to share it on your social media and be aware of the 3 ways of communication. So the verbal, nonverbal, and written. So if you're on your stories on IG and you're sharing your story, obviously the verbal, you're talking, you're communicating, being aware with the nonverbal side, so the facial expressions. You know, if you're sharing a happy moment, smile when you're sharing that happy moment of your story. Don't just be like serious and like with a flat mouth and just, you know what I mean? Like show that excitement through your story, through your the imagery, the video, and of course having that text, and of course the written part, having those keywords, the captions. And for in person, this is good practice for in person, because if you can become really good at sharing your story online through your social media, then in person will be perfect. And same vice versa. If you're super comfortable doing it in person, then on social media won't be a problem. And this is going to be very effective, because guess what? Anyone coming across your page is going to look at your story and they're going to feel touched, and they're going to be like, I don't know what this person's saying, but I need to work with them because they made me feel a certain way and they made themselves memorable. And it's like what Christian said earlier. You want to have people remember your story. That's why each and every one of you has a unique part of your story. You make people remember you, something about it, whether it was the ups or the downs. You make them remember by how you made them feel, not by what you said, but how you made them feel. And that's very, very important. But that's a wrap on today's level up call. Who got value? Drop ones. I will again be sharing that in the chat so all of you can get right to your assignments. And I'm very excited to see these. I'm very excited to see them on social media. And those of you in Toronto, I'm very excited to see you all executed in person. All right, awesome. So that's it. Have an awesome rest of your Saturday. It was awesome being here with all of you, and let's crush November. Bye.